All right, welcome to a very special episode of Cosmic Road, where we are joined by the one and only John Stewart. Welcome to the show, John.
Thanks, Jack. Appreciate it. Thanks for having me. Hello, all my cosmic family. Hope you're doing well.
And by the way, congratulations on the awesome scoop of that DARPA scientist. I mean, that
Yeah,
is some amazing information. Whether
yeah,
I think it's legit or not, it's amazing information.
me
Uh,
too.
and yeah, so okay, so take us through all that. How did you establish contact with her? And
Yeah,
yeah, take us through the whole process.
yeah. Very similar to the Lockheed story. I've given my personal email out to on 40, 45 plus podcasts over 5 years. And Jack, if you can remember, I've always said in that time, I've had about 7 or 8 really interesting people contact me. The Lockheed guy, the Navy psychiatrist, which I have never even gotten into, and Jill, as I call her, was one of them. And she emailed me, just like the Lockheed guy. Hey, John, saw you on a podcast. Really like what you had to say. You asked if anybody had anything to help you, and I think I have some information that would be, interesting or privy to your investigation into Victor, the extraterrestrial phenomenon, and just basically went on to say that she is retired, a scientist. She sent me a studio work portrait of her that would, that they would use at her work and stuff as a scientist. And she specifically said that the agencies that she worked for had her, whether it was loaned out or the agency was contracted by DARPA to work with DARPA on certain projects. And she also gave me a list of her credentials as far as what she did, master's degree in electrical engineering. She said she specifically has 2 electrical systems that were patented, something to that effect, something with one of them being in the space shuttle. Now, that just might be forgive my vernacular, a circuit board somewhere, or, on the space shuttle. That doesn't mean she invented let's be real. But certainly, again, the whole email, her bio, her photo, her vernacular, all passed the smell test with me. And that was it. She said, here's an essay that I developed about the extraterrestrial phenomenon from what I have learned in my work and with working with DARPA. And I wanted to share this with you. Please refrain from using my name with this, but you can certainly feel free to share some of my, email and stuff. I haven't really thought I got the green light on the essay, but I will email her again to get that, because that's interesting and really hyperbolic. And I don't necessarily, if I think it's all accurate either. So, but
Were
that's
you
how
able
she
to?
initially contacted me. Sorry, a year ago.
Yeah, no, I just wanted to know if you were able to vet that you had ever actually worked for DARPA, even not directly, but were contracted. Had you
Right.
actually?
Right. I think your viewers know me. This is car dealer John, who has successfully had the Victor investigation. I'm not a New York Times reporter, so I'm not going to call DARPA, or I'm not going to call these agencies that she was a scientist for. That's just not that's just not my disposition. If you don't pass the smell test with me, I won't go any further. And I was not using her for any kind of backing up any type of research or something that I was going to give to a scientist, a producer, or the world, if that makes sense. So no, I didn't. I did tangentially look at her work record and her collegiate record and education, and that just seemed to me to be enough.
And did you look at her like Facebook page or whatever to see if she was a
No,
real person?
no, not at all.
Okay, okay,
No,
all right,
no. I did Google her, but
okay.
and
And she showed up in Google.
yeah, my dad took a portrait for when he was the chairman of the board of a current of a, a, uh, 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 I mean, most people don't have a studio portrait that would be on a wall somewhere. I found that very genuine when she sent that as part of her dossier to me of who she was and whatnot. I just thought that was, and very, very kind of her to do that. Like, here I am. Here's what I look like. Here's my work bio picture, and that would probably be in some, booklet or something like that with her scientific background and stuff. So it passed the smell test so far. Yeah. But I did Google, of course.
And okay, so is getting into her information. For those viewers who haven't seen her information, haven't been exposed to it, can you give us a rundown of what she had to say? What is so groundbreaking and earth-shaking about her information?
I think the most groundbreaking thing that she told me via email was how scared she was working at DARPA and with DARPA. And this is the top of the food chain of the United States military, working on the most high-tech, advanced systems and applications for military use in the world. And as because I know everyone thinks she's, sits on top of, the DARPA pyramid, and maybe she does. Annie Jacobson, the author, said that, what they're doing is 20 years ahead of anybody. Stephen Greer will tell you it's 30 to 50 years ahead of what's in mainstream society right now. I got to go with the Greer angle because from what the stories are that are out there, I don't know if this is 10, 15, 20 years ahead. It's, this is Star Wars type stuff. So that's my opinion, folks. I did not do a DARPA deep dive, just to let you know.
Well, DARPA is definitely...
but it was that she was so scared of working with DARPA that really caught me, and that she was emphatic that the extraterrestrial phenomenon, I'm sorry, I did not finish I apologize, that the extraterrestrial phenomenon was real. She knows it's real, and she is not, she is very disconcerted of the implications of the extraterrestrial phenomenon, especially in recent years. So,
and she didn't have any direct experience with ETs, right? Working with DARPA or associated with DARPA.
Not that she said, but I came up with a great analogy from reading her emails. If she's at DARPA and she's an electrical engineer guru, and somebody from DARPA says, "Oh, that'll be great to keep the kids away from this aircraft or military application," and kids are one of the vernaculars they give to extraterrestrials, and I'm in her spot, and I hear that, from a DARPA scientist saying that my invention, my application will keep the kids at bay. I don't think I need to go any further to know that this is, you're developing an application, let's just say, to go onto the space, the ISS, or maybe the new lunar module, or the new rocket and space capsule to Mars. And people are talking about keeping other entities away from it while it's in space and traversing space. I would have to think that would be something that she must have picked up on that, this isn't for Russia. This is for, and she says that in her email, that it clearly, stuff that she was working on was not applicable towards Russia and China. It was applicable for extraterrestrials.
And do we know how she stumbled upon this vein of information about what the ETs were doing? And because we're going to get into the juicy stuff, the DARPA, her information about DARPA defending Earth from the beings, and how the bugs and all that kind of stuff. So do we know where she got this information?
No, I don't. To be quite frank, but she said that her essay was a compilation of her experience. So I would assume that you're a retired scientist. It is, again, things that you picked up tangentially, through osmosis, through the wind. I mean, Jack, come on. We've all worked in companies and stuff, and working in an industry for 30 years. The professional wrestling industry that I have been involved with on and off for 30 years, I could fill up 5 volumes in a book of stuff that I know is true, but I wasn't actually there at that particular point or stuff like that. And I don't mean to be glib about what she from pro wrestling to aliens, please. But I'm just simply saying from my experience, there are things that that although they're not on paper or in documents, what you're dealing with. She knew that she was developing or assisting in developing systems, according to her emails, that were not for China and Russia. She specifically said that to.
So yeah, that's fascinating. I would love to learn more about that. Specifically, who hired her to do that and why, and what are the technologies that she developed or worked with.
Right.
Yeah, if they're trying to keep aliens away from our guys in space, that is super interesting, and it seems very relevant. Very of the moment. I mean, that's going on now.
Yeah, and again, I told Patrick from Vetted, I believe an armada is on its way to attack Earth and devour Earthlings? No, I don't. But I think, and I am crediting the military right now, which I often do, that that I see it as, we have the extraterrestrial interrogation and retention program in the 80s and 90s. We finally break the code, so says Victor, in the 2000s, of what really telepathically the beings are trying to tell us. That information gets pushed up to DIA. DIA pushes that information to the Pentagon, and the Pentagon says, well, our job is to deal with contingencies, to deal with possibilities. We know this is real. We have these beings at facilities out at Papoose Lake. We have to assume that some of their information is real. We also should assume and plan for a contingency that, yes, many, if not all of these beings and entities that are coming to Earth are benevolent. But what happens when someone or one of them or one of that species goes rogue? Don't you think it's in our best interest as the military protecting the United States to at least develop some cursory systems as a contingency in case something should go awry? I think that's prudent. I think that is the nature of the Pentagon. Unlike Congress, I think that's forward thinking. And I don't necessarily think that I think that means, I don't think it means that an armada is coming to Earth. I just think that if something should go awry in the future, beings messing with aircraft, public airlines, interfering with certain things, that the government should develop contingency programs, weaponry platform to deal with that. I don't think that's crazy at any point.
Did she talk about firing on the beings at all? Firing on the ships?
No, not at all. She did not mention any specific beings or any kind of incursions, but she did say this invasion is underway. And Jack, I wanted to read to you because I had so many people off the internet email me to ask her a follow-up to be more precise in her language. And she said, "Hi, John," because I asked, the invasion, can you be more specific? And she said, quote, this was yesterday, "Hi, John, I wouldn't exactly call it an invasion or attack. It seems more like an acquisition of valuable resources, i.e. the Earth and all it contains." Now, she's got stuff about her essay, which I could read later. But so, it doesn't appear that nor is she talking about an armada, coming to Earth. But but she is certainly saying that this is underway. And Jack, if you would give me a couple of minutes here, I would like to tell your viewers what Danny Sheehan, who is highly respected, what he said about the alien phenomenon for the past 70 years, a kind of synopsis and speculation from him and military people that he talked to. And I will get that here. This is really interesting. Danny Sheehan, and I'm paraphrasing. Danny says that from a military standpoint, it appears that extraterrestrials, in some way, shape, or form, are preparing a battlefield or preparing the battlefield. They are mapping terrain. They are identifying the species, which might be their adversaries, us. They are tracking and monitoring and identifying our weaponry when they're over nuclear missile silos, they're over Air Force bases, right? And they are encouraging with us, the Tic Tac video, let's say, to see what our tactics would be. And Danny Sheehan said, this to me is what a good, thorough military general would do in a prelude to a battle. You know, terrain mapping. Do I have hills, swamp? Is it dry? What's the climate? Who am I fighting? What's their makeup? What's their DNA makeup? What are their weaknesses? What are their weapons? What are the weaponry Achilles tendons? And what are their tactics when they do see a UFO? Now, this is Danny Sheehan, not John Stewart. So, again, that makes perfect sense. What we are probably seeing in the past 75 years. And I always go back to, you know, I still believe we're the trout in the stream, and we deal with, and the beings are the DNR and Department of Natural Resources, and they're also vacationers, and they're also sportsmen, and they're also violent knuckleheads and fishermen that want to provide for their family and fillet the fish and eat it. I mean, we're not on top of the food chain. We know that. And if we're not on top of the food chain, then we're probably being looked at like the world looks at, let's say, fish. They're sometimes used for a resource for food. They're sometimes monitored, tagged, semen's taken, eggs are taken. Sometimes kids, you know, throw one on the shore, never throw one back. Sometimes we eat them. I just don't think this is a big stretch. I don't think this phenomenon, looking at it pragmatically, is a big stretch. And I think Danny Sheehan nailed it.
So you think they eat people?
No, I don't. I'm just saying the mentality of that I and all of my brethren in America, let's say, have towards fish. Okay,
Yeah.
Some of us are very careful with them. We have scientists who study them, who tag them. You know, implants. We have scientists that extract ovum and sperm and eggs. We have fishermen who are very gentle and catch them, photo them, return them back to the water. We have people that don't care that much and catch one, throw it on shore. We have people that use it as a resource, as sustenance. We have knucklehead kids like my daughters when they were young that throw rocks at, fish in the stream. I mean, why can't the beans be all of that, or even part of that, or even just the scientific nature of the way people here in this country look at wildlife? And, for some sort of hostile incursion, you can't rule that out. You can't call this woman crazy. You can't call someone crazy. In every single instance in the world history, when a more advanced society has come upon a less advanced society, it does not end well for the less advanced society. Folks, don't think you are the most advanced society in the universe. You ain't.
Well, yeah, definitely not. I'm encouraged, however, that the evidence seems to suggest that the beings or some subsets of the beings have been here for a long time, and yet we're still here. So, they don't seem to mean
Exactly.
to wipe us out. However, like you say, as above, so below. There's jerks down here. There's probably jerks up there. And we definitely need a defense against them. I don't like the idea of having a militaristic, attitude toward the phenomenon in general. But what's interesting to me, or one of the many things that's interesting about this account, there's the different levels that seem to exist. Like she's working on, inner level stuff, somewhat within the inner level, the control group kind of area, working on defensive capabilities against beings. But at a deeper level, you've got your alien interview. You got people directly interacting with beings. And then at an even deeper level, I think you have guys running around in ships. It's interesting that the compartmentalization that seems to exist and the different levels that seem to exist. So I'm assuming that she exists in an outer envelope of within the secrecy. Uh,
No
you know,
doubt
she she
about it.
she's
Yeah.
not flying around in a ship, but she
No,
is involved
no.
in this stuff. And she is being told in this outer layer of secrecy that exists within the veil of secrecy, that there's some hostile beings, and there may be some reason that DARPA exists to defend us against them. Am I understanding that right?
Jack, I don't know how other way to look at it. Yes. I mean, you know, this, this woman is taking a position of, you know, there might be hostility. And I don't think, again, knowing who she is and the correspondence we had, I don't think that she's being hyperbolic to some degree. She might have used poor or could have used better language than invasion. And of course, I'm sure she would admit to that. And I also have just said this afternoon, and I hold to it, that I think she was really psychologically scared out of her mind working with DARPA. And this has affected her, um, reanalyzing and reinterpreting what the possibility or possibilities could be with some of these species. So yes, I agree with you that there's no way to spin this. I mean, this woman, is emailing a warning.
Do we know any specific examples that she experienced when she was working at DARPA that scared her? Anything? Yeah, did she point to
I
any?
don't remember reading that, but I could obviously go back. I would love to interview her in silhouette and the old Victor voice analyzer and have her back to me. I think I could get her to do that. You
That'd be
know, I think
amazing.
I built up enough trust.
Man,
Yeah.
I hope you
And
do. That'd be awesome.
you and I could develop a litany of questions, because you're someone like you is way more better at, seeing down the road of this phenomenon. Yeah. I would definitely, want to try and do something like that. She's just a very, very nice lady, a baby boomer, retired, and it's I think she was greatly disturbed. I will keep driving that home. Greatly disturbed at what she, encountered, was told to some degree. My speculation, and this has affected her interpretation of all of this.
Okay, all right. So, what do we know about the bugs?
What about the bugs?
Well,
Explain that.
she says they're insectile, the beings, they're insect-like or bug-like, right? And they have a hive mind, and they're out for
Sorry.
acquisition and territory. And
Right.
you, you know,
Right.
can you? Yeah. So tell us
Yeah. Well,
about. Well,
let's
okay.
read.
And before you answer, I don't know if you've heard Tom DeLong's quote. You probably have, but Tom DeLong, Tom, he has said that his information that he got was that there were bugs. There was a group of beings, I'm assuming the grays or the mantids or both, that are known by some people in the inner circle as the bugs. And they were hostile and bad. And it really dovetails very well with what Jill has said. So there's two points of corroboration for that vein of information. Now, I don't know if that's a real vein of information or not, but I have no doubt that Jill was told that, and that Tom was told that, both by people in the know. So I tend to think that's, they're being told disinformation. But I mean, she is the person on the inside. But yeah, but yeah, so take it away.
I have no knowledge of any classification or categorization of any extraterrestrials other than the other grays that I have investigated in my video.
Do you think of those as insectile or bug-like?
I have no knowledge of any other classifications or categories of extraterrestrials other than the other gray that was in my Victor Alien interview.
Okay.
Would you like me to read? Did you get that code? Okay.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. I got it. I got it.
Thank
Read,
you.
read, please read.
Thanks, Jack. Okay. Let me get to that part. I think she was drawing a conclusion or an analogy from these beings to insects like bees that have a hive mentality. But let me just, this is a really interesting, she gave a little summation of her essay. My essay was just a basic attempt to figure out what the aliens are up to based on their actions. Trying to analyze their culture is more speculative, but I'll give you my 2 cents. The behavior of these creatures seems surprisingly mundane and repetitive. Their main concern seems to involve gathering food, fostering their species, and maintaining or expanding control of their territory. Sounds very people like on Earth. They exhibit a hive mentality. This is where she was talking about insects. They exhibit a hive mentality, acting in unison and without personal ambition. Such a culture will require a very long time to evolve, although it may have received assistance from an advanced source. As with most insects, creatures like these will naturally tend to expand and multiply whenever conditions are favorable. There is nothing noble or admirable about them. In many ways, they aren't even very clever. It's only their technology that enables them to prey upon us, but that advantage will not last forever. By failing to make peaceful contact and treating us like lab rats and possibly a food source, they have defined the nature of the relationship in a way that places us on an extremely confrontational path. Considering our very rapid rate of technological progress, we could soon pose a serious threat to them. So they're either too stupid to realize it or they simply overconfident and unconcerned. However, the possibility also exists that there is a large number of these creatures currently en route, and when they arrive, they intend to decimate the entire planet in a relatively short time. Therefore, they would have no reason to establish any sort of friendly relations since they expect us all to soon be, dead. Clearly, we may be in a race with time for our own survival. And that naturally implies that we have to get rid of these creatures as quickly as we possibly can. I am quite sure the military realized this a long time ago, and it's at the root of just about everything they've done for the last 77 years. And then she says, cheers, Jill, which I thought was pretty. Now, this is something that Danny Sheehan has talked about. When you talk about humans as a food source, I don't think that is written the way it is. I think we're talking about extraction of biological materials such as ovum and semen and blood and hemoglobin from cows, from bovine sources, and certainly you can go to the crazy end where there's stories out there, conjunction in nature, that when they went into the UFO, they found human body parts in there. I'm just saying that story is out there. You get the Dulce story of human body parts floating in a vat. So is it to use 8 billion people's body parts? No, I don't think so. Is it to use some semblance of some of our biological material? Is that what she's crudely suggesting? Yeah, I think that is true. Just like we do to animals and to mammals and to fish. Sorry.
Well, that is very alarming. Of course, she does say it's speculative, but I do think it's
Yes,
very noteworthy that her information parallels Tom's so well. So I do think that's a real vein of information or disinformation
absolutely.
that
Yeah,
exists.
right. Yeah. I,
But yeah, I don't. I wish. I mean, it seems like it would be an important thing to figure out if that was information or disinformation.
right.
But do we know what year she was working on this project with DARPA, developing this defense system? This
Yes. It appears that she's been retired for about 5 years. She was a scientist for 30 years. She did say that she had one electrical application on the space shuttle. She clearly said that in her email. So I am guessing, extrapolating, just like I had to do with the Victor investigation, at backtracking and putting pieces of the puzzle together. I'm assuming she retired 5 years ago. That's 2019. 30 years from then. So 1980 to 2000, and let's say 17, 18, 19, 20.
okay,
Long
okay.
time.
And do you have any idea in her conception of things and her understanding of things where the hybridization program would fit into it? The alien abduction and hybridization program. Does she touch on that at all?
I'm looking up to the sky because I'm trying to remember her 12-page essay. Um, and I don't have that information. I wish I would have printed that out. But she clearly says there is 100% a hybridization program going on. Jack, I will send you the essay and redact your name and whatnot because it does not give any specific information about
It's not
her. But
classified,
she
right?
clearly writes that. She clearly writes that there is a hybridization program. And can I make one other thing about that? Somebody said something to me that was so on target. His first name is Ehrlich. And he's on space, and he's highly intelligent. And he's like, don't you find it funny that in all of antiquity, in all of these cultures, in all of the writings, somebody from the sky seems to show up right before the catastrophe and right after the catastrophe. And I got to agree with that. So, you know, um, we're building all these domes. Is it for protection or repelling alien invasion? I don't know. Is it for something more environmental? Yes. Or nuclear? Yes. You
I don't know.
know, um,
I
and do they
saw.
know that? And do they know that? I mean, some come from different dimensions and timelines. Some of them must know the future. If you see it, I can't talk about future events. All I'm saying is that do they know something and they're here waiting you know um to repopulate the earth with their own designer, number 167, because we've been told that we've been tinkered with our DNA 166 times. Is this the 167th model ready to be rolled out? I think it's possible with a higher consciousness. Yeah, abductees tell us they see these halls of hybrid human beings in incubation. I mean, how many people have to tell you that before you start to say, is something going on? And then you have a DARPA associated scientist telling you the same thing, that there's some sort of hybridization program going on that has gone on for millions of years, according to geneticists. They all tell us, it's our DNA's been tinkered with. There's a missing 60 years, 60,000 years. I mean, come on, something's going on.
Yeah, well, our brains really grew in a short amount of time. Eerily, a suspiciously
Hey,
short amount of
hey, hey, you're speaking facts. Careful.
time. Yeah, and we know, or I don't know if you've looked into the Nazca situation, but it does look like there were beings interested in genetic manipulation and experimentation,
Hmm,
back a few thousand years ago in Peru.
hmm.
And so have they always been interested in experimentation and hybridization? And are we the result of that? That'd
Right,
be
right.
they have certainly told people that. Is that true? I don't know.
You,
Uh,
Jack, think about it. This is me and you talking over a beer. If you're coming to Earth, you have a hive mentality. You don't have any personality. You don't have a wife that you're going to want to take shopping or day trips and excursions. I'm being totally serious here. You're not sunbathing. You are your culture, your species are doing fine. You have a total scientific, non-personality, hive mind. What else do you do on Earth other than look at nature? How long could you do that? And what is the other thing you would do? Well, I've got this intelligence. Let me upgrade the species on this planet, see where it takes them. I don't think I'm being glib. I don't think I'm having a sophomoric take on it. I do believe that. There's nothing else for these beings to do other than, see the geography, maybe take resources like gold and other minerals or materials that they may need, and upgrading or tinkering with or educating the species. All of that, according to antiquity, to every culture on every continent, has happened.
No, those are great thoughts and good points. And it gets so complicated when you think about, well, have you ever investigated the more metaphysical encounters and the more metaphysical other dimensional aspect? Even David Grush has talked about the other dimensional aspect of the phenomenon. Have you explored that at all? Because it gets weird. It gets weird fast, man. It gets weird
and
fast.
I harken back to physicists who back up with what Dr. Greer says, and vice versa. Dr. Greer talks about these physicists that told him it's, they're bending, they're blipping in and out of dimensions, and they have figured that this out. And because it's not our physics now, it doesn't mean it's something that we won't understand 100 or 1,000 years from now. The physics in 2024 are not the same physics in 1934. That's a fact. So, these beings have the ability, it appears, in what people have said, to and I know this sounds cliche, manipulate time and space on a degree where they're literally, and I love this word, they're blipping, they're popping in and out of dimensions, and even Victor said, I'm not so sure that all of them come from other solar systems and other star systems. They possibly come from other dimensions. And is that the code that the government finally broke of the telepath program, of the beings, what they were really trying to tell the telepaths? I think that's a possibility.
No, that's a good possibility. By the way, has Victor ever admitted to being Victor yet?
No, but he did tell me, I just can't tell you that I'm that guy. And we are now sending each other interesting websites and articles that we found. And my agent's like, so let me get this straight. The global hunt for the whistleblower alien spy has now turned into a buddy movie. So, I mean, but he's still Victor. He's nice, but he's still Victor. I got chastised because I said I was going to call at 11 o'clock. I mean, John Stewart's 11 o'clock, could be 1:30 in the afternoon. And when I called at 11:15, what do you think he said to me? Well, he's Victor. I thought you said 11 o'clock. I'm like, I am really sorry. I thought I said 11 to 12. He said, no, you specifically said 11. And, I would appreciate if you can hold to what you tell me. And I'm like, are you trying to tell me you're Victor? I mean, Jack, you have all the information. This guy, and now I just found something else, number 28 on the list of why he is Victor. And it has to, I'm not going to spill it. I just found it an hour ago. I mean, it's just, I think a lot of the luminaries in the UFO world are going to be very creeped out that somebody that they remotely know is Victor. And that's all I'm going to say right now. But by my birthday of next year, everyone's going to know. I've got to get this. I've got to come forward. I've got to move on with my life.
Does that mean you're going to release your documentary?
Well, here's the other thing. When I just said this to Patrick, it is painfully obvious that, and I was warned this in 2022. Oh, you think the video is real? I mean, at the end, we're going to tell the American public it's real. And they're like, nobody is going to buy that. It's too creepy. They want all of these little cursory projects. I don't know if things ever going to get bought, and I can't wait around. So I am telling you, there is a great possibility that I am going to, unfortunately, but whatever, still the same thing, going to have to put this on some live streaming pay-per-view, and just be done with it. Tell the whole story. Get the luminaries from the UFO world on Zoom and get their input. Tell everybody at one point who Victor is, why he's Victor, and be done with it. And just move on and write a book about it, because I think it's fascinating and aggravating how Hollywood, the media, and the government treated me. That should really be upsetting to your viewers. And I've said that all along. Forget Victor. Forget what the government's doing. You're going to be more upset at the government and Hollywood and the media, and some UFO insiders also. It is it's like adversity doesn't create character. It reveals your character. This investigation has revealed the character of America. And you're not going to like some of the conclusions that I come to. So.
And for any viewers that don't know, Victor is the mysterious man that released the alien interview video to the production company. And we don't, John has not revealed and Victor has not revealed who he is. And I know the identity of the man that John believes is Victor and is now in communication with. And but he has not confirmed that he is Victor yet. But that would be such an awesome, climax of the documentary, though, if you, if you actually got him to come up on camera. That'd be so cool. Even if it was just, shadowed out.
Right, Jack. The question that begs the question: you're not telling me you're Victor. I've got $25,000 for you. Why are we 1,000,000% know it's you? The director told us after we showed him. So I stopped. Why grab the money?
The director.
Why isn't he? Because what is he hiding? Am I right? If it's a hoax, give me the money. Yes.
Okay. So I missed that part, John. Okay. So
Sorry.
The director of the documentary that revealed, or was it a TV program or was it a documentary that revealed
the TV shockumentary?
Yeah. Okay. There you go.
Yeah.
So the director of that documentary revealed.
He gave me 3 clues. One of them, the name. I got it. It's over.
Okay. It's
over.
That's pretty good.
And 28 points. Not only the FBI, he's a private investigator now in Chicago. He's like, are you kidding me? Jack, you saw he's like, are you kidding me? This isn't like each other. They are the same. And we did 28 points, which is shocking. 28 aspects that also prove he's Victor. Why he did this. Why he said this, why he was obsessed with this, that he crosses his hands at the wrist, something he admitted to me. He said, well, it's like a doppelganger. And yeah, I do cross my hands at the wrist. I found I don't want to say that, but we have 28 things where he was, he even told me, well, I don't ever remember having that silver striped tie. What did the director tell you my name was? Okay. But if I didn't have his picture matched up in his name, according to the director who sat down with them, these 28 points would prosecute him in a court of law. But I've got the name. I've got the director confirmation. I have the picture, the documentary, and a Victor, in 28 points, showing like you people are going to be like, oh my God, of course he got a meeting with Fox. This is how he knew to do, and that was the biggest thing. I thought total hoax. There's no way a government employee could garner a pitch meeting with Fox TV in 1996. And now I know how he did it. And it's startling.
Man, I hope he comes forward. I hope he's willing to go on camera, even if he's just blacked out.
Yeah.
That would be
I'll
amazing.
Interview him. He might deny everything on interview. I'll get him on camera.
Okay.
But I just simply thought if it was a hoax, it was going to be, hi, Victor, this is John Stewart. I know you're Victor. How much do you want? Yeah, sorry, folks. I'm just thinking pragmatic. The fact that he won't admit it, and he's dancing around it, that he's still communicating with me like a friendship, And the fact that he has not admitted it, why are you not admitting who you are and that it's a hoax? Is it because it's not a hoax and he fears prosecution? So now I have to wrestle with another legal issue. But I'm sorry. I'm sorry. In 2008, Victor came out and said, find me, prove who I am, find my bio. Well, I did. Now, Victor, you got to take the brunt of the repercussions if there's any. I'm not going to call the DIA. I'm not going to call the Pentagon. I'm not going to call the FBI, but that's up to him. He led the challenge. I answered it. I found him. I got this guy bagged and tagged. And sorry, I mean, you're going to have to live with, if I don't even think I would, if he would say, look, they're going to prosecute me. Don't reveal my name, but I'll admit it on camera. I mean, then everybody would think I'm full of shit. I have to reveal his name. And so many people have his name that I trust that, me not doing it is not going to stop it. It's already in the wind. So we're going to get it out. The UFO community is going to move on. I did what I set out to do 27 years ago. So I'm happy and proud of that.
Well, congratulations about that. Did you say that you had offered $25,000 to him?
No, I was just specifically saying, sorry, hold on one second. I was just saying that he appears and still does to some degree, and I won't tell you how, that he's a money guy. Do you get what I mean? He wanted money in the beginning. He wanted money in the second documentary. I would think he'd want money at his declining age. He'd want some more money. And why would you not take, and I said, what's it going to take? I'm saying this like I'm speaking in my head. Was it going to take 25,000? But tell me the story. Why are you not taking the bait and telling me that it's a hoax? What are you so afraid of? And I'm just simply saying does that mean that video is real? And that's why he is so reluctant, because he is not adverse to taking large amounts of money for his services. I'll leave it at that.
You have convinced me, John, that video is almost certainly real. And I believe that we're probably looking at a being that
no doubt
was at that time alive, but then died shortly thereafter.
And we think we've identified the African-American general on the left of the video, where you see his shoulder when the spotlight gets shined on him. I have identified, I'll release that somewhere. I don't think it's big news, who that man might be. It's not Colin Powell, because his upper lip is way different than Colin Powell. Colin Powell
that had been a theory that it was Colin Powell. Yeah.
Right. Yes. And I didn't doubt that at the time, because Colin Powell's chief of staff for intelligence was in the room, Admiral Ned Schaefer. So I didn't doubt that Colin Powell was there. But this guy, this African-American Army general, folks, there weren't many African-American Army generals in the 80s and 90s. So Colin Powell had a hooded lip, like it protruded down. It didn't curl back up. This man clearly curled back up, and we think we've identified who this black United States Army general is. And I will release that at some point, because that's not really, tantamount to the entire investigation. So, I just can't wait to get this off my chest and move on, and that's it. I did my job. I told the UFO community I would do this, and I did it. And I'm not looking for a pat in the back. I'm just saying I did it. Help me move on. That's all.
When you say move on, do you mean you're quitting the UFO game, or you're just moving on?
I am quitting the UFO game. I am quitting actively being a participant on YouTube and social media and podcasts. I'm never saying that I won't ever check in with people or whatever, not come back on your podcast at points throughout my life. But as an active participant in this community, much to the dismay of some people and to the utter delight of the skeptics and the haters, yes, I will be moving on from this community. Yeah.
Well, that's too bad, because I think you brought us some great information.
I did bring you some great information, but now you've got to take the ball.
All right.
Not you, the community. So
Well, if Victor ever wants to come on the show, I'm happy to have him.
we'll see what happens when it comes out. Who knows what he's going to do when it comes out? I think it's another documentary of him denying and tap dancing, and and me and us going down the 28 points. He when I talked to him, when I was going down some of the points, he sounded like a perp in the interrogation room, trying to explain why his boot print and his tire track that matches his tires were at the scene of the murder victim's house. Am I making sense? Just really, really bad, not excuses, but justifications, and I didn't want to browbeat him anymore, but I felt like I was a detective in an interrogation room listening to some really bad justifications for each one of my 28 points, which I only got to about 7. So.
Okay. All right. Well, before we go today, is there anything people need to know about where to find you or what you're currently working on?
Yeah, I'm just currently working on trying to get this to the public. And it looks like it's maybe going to be, an online streaming event, pay-per-view. I know, grifter. I'm going to, donate a lot of that money to certain projects that I feel are worthwhile, charity projects and whatnot, if there's enough money to do that. I'm sorry, I'm going to pay myself back the $20,000 if there's enough money. And my agent that's been with me for 4 years dealing with all of this crap, that guy's got to be compensated. He gets compensated first. And if you don't feel like paying for it, then don't pay for it. Don't watch
Well,
it.
man, nobody gives Stephen Greer, crap for charging for his documentaries. I mean, come on.
Right. I mean, hey, you're a grifter if you're selling something is totally false and fake. If monetizing something that you worked your ass off for, that you took your own life at risk, that you were boots on the ground, that you spent thousands of dollars to discover, monetizing that is not a bad thing. And I'm sorry, I'm going to defiantly, hold to my guns on that. Monetizing knowingly false information, yes, that is grifting. That's fortunately something I'm not doing.
Well, I totally agree, and I hate to lose you, man. You've done such good work, and
thank you.
I hope you stay in the fight. But I totally understand if you don't. You've been kind of treated raw. I do. I think so.
Yeah,
I do think so.
Yeah, rather unfairly, and it's not only the bad taste in my mouth. Because there are some emails that bring tears to my eyes, and I mean that. I'm not being melodramatic. And people like you and people on the internet who literally helped my investigation and the other investigation with the Linda Howell manual and stuff like that. People on the internet they should be holding up their hand in victory with me. But it's just, it's the time consumption of following leads and the emails and the investigation and the mental stress is too much of a burden. At 5 years, I've done what I set out to do, and I just simply want to calmly, politely, like a gentleman, just back off being an active member of the community. And I'm not saying I'm going to disappear, but being an active member of the community, absolutely. I'm just going to have to take a step back.
Well, hopefully you'll get a chance to spike the football first.
Yes, I will. I promise.
All right. Well, thank you so much for coming on the show today, John. I loved it.
Thanks, Jack. You've been great. Been a great friend. I admire your show. I love your viewers, and God bless you. God bless all your listeners and viewers. Have a safe summer, and we will see each other very soon, and we'll all know Victor's name. And like you said, we can spike the ball on the goal line. It's going to be a great night.
Love it, John. Thank you.